Okay, it's been pressed.
Right.
Reunion tour. Good. It's show 1 of the reunion tour.
No, I have a Windows update, guys. I gotta restart my computer.
No!
Everyone project.
After all the problems we went through, the 2 minutes of problems.
For the 2 of us, everyone just
Bill Gates hates this podcast.
Oh,
that would make sense. Bill Gates really liked Bubble Boy.
Does he even work? I don't think he...
No, he quit. Now he has that Puff Piece documentary on Netflix where he just pretends that he cares about people. Now you're really loud. Jesus Christ, I gotta turn you way down.
Sorry, I'm projecting now. This is my
Mari
podcast
gets really loud
voice.
when he's recording the podcast.
Is this what you've been doing in the past week? Is that what's been happening? Just loud noises?
While we thought you were dead, we've just been yelling into microphones, waiting for you to come back to order to the podcast.
Where is he? Bring him back to me. I
want to
need
hear
it.
the cool impressions again.
You should have done that
thing. See without him.
Should have done that thing that Bart did in that one episode of The Simpsons where he just lines up like 20 megaphones.
Yeah.
Creates a supersonic wave.
Soy is dead.
Alright, so Ryan's prediction was that we were all going to hate this movie, and I definitely hated this movie. What about you two?
I didn't like it at all. Also, hello everyone, we're back.
I quite liked it, actually.
Okay.
Should we mention something?
Good texture.
No, fuck.
Oh yeah,
something.
Ryan's.
I'm a thing now.
No.
Please mention me. Please mention me.
Yeah. They didn't watch.
He's the new cabin boy.
The update video.
And
I'm
he's
gonna edit the show.
Can I be the quartermaster?
Like the guy that gives weapons, right? That's what that is.
You can be the master of disguise.
Can I be the half master?
Oh, stop spoiling next week's movie, Ryan. Jesus. He lives in Alaska, so he decided to pick. I hope it's the master.
That was something I wanted to ask you. Was that the reason why you picked this movie? Was because a large portion of it takes place in Alaska?
Well, see, it used to be my favorite movie of all time. Because
of course it was.
I was in like middle school. The reason I liked this movie so much was because I was in middle school and I was in that edgy teen phase where I legitimately wanted to run away from home, and this did not help things. I never did it because I was stupid.
Those are the only people that like this movie.
Well, clearly being stupid can't stop you because this guy did it.
God his ass.
This guy did it, and then even though he had all the books with him, he still fucking died because he ate the wrong plant like an idiot.
Okay. We should. Into the Wild is a 2007 movie starring Emile Hirsch, Vince Vaughn, and directed by
just do like Mari does and read off Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I watched the DVD specifically because I thought there were bonus features, but there's not. There's 6 previews on there. 6 previews of movies.
Oh yeah. Let's break it down. What are the?
What are the previews, baby?
Please.
Important. The first preview is Things We Lost in the Fire. I don't remember anything.
I don't remember it. I mean, it's the title of a Low album, but I don't think that's the same thing.
The second preview, it was some movie with Ben Stiller, so I thought it was 40-Year-Old Virgin, but it was actually something called The Heartbreak Kid.
Oh, it's a remake of the movie The Heartbreak Kid from a while.
It's one of those movies where they get the actor and then there's a kid in it.
But yeah, what?
Yeah, that
it's one
genre.
Of those movies where they have children in it.
That's a genre. It's probably like a rom-com and it involves a kid.
Right,
and the guy
what
has
genre
to become a
for
father.
like?
That's like a genre, man.
Rom-com plus kid, is that really a genre?
Yeah, there's the one
like to
with
call.
I think you could
Hugh
just
Grant.
call it rom-com.
No, with kid though. It's the little
With
spice.
kid.
It's the salt and pepper. Yeah, with kid, and then the other
I
one's
call
like
that genre suicide encouragement
ex-wife.
personally, but
got their ass.
The third preview
Jesus Christ,
was There Will Be Blood.
You mean the best movie of the year? Yeah.
I don't recognize that one. Is that another rom-com with kid?
Yep.
Yeah.
Except he's married to power.
He's married to oil. He's married to the right oil. The fourth was Kite Runner.
Oh yeah, the movie where the kid gets raped.
That's like one of those Afghan movies, right? Like it's set in the Afghans.
In the Afghans.
I watched this 5 days ago, so I don't remember. I wanted to rewatch it last night.
I think it's like a PG-13 movie where a kid gets raped, which is pretty ballsy to have that happen in a PG.
Is that what they call it nowadays? Kite running?
Yeah.
CG movies where kids get raped are called kite runners.
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein was a big enthusiast of kites and.
Man, we're
and
like
flying.
just not. We just hit
right
the 5
away.
minute mark.
Right
Talk
away.
about rape,
Well, we
child
can.
rape.
I mean, we don't have to include this. It's up to
My
you
mom's
guys if you
listening
want
to this because I'm on it now. So, hi mom.
Well, it's
rape,
on you to edit it out if you want to edit
cum
it out.
eating,
I'm just rubbing my temples at this point.
I mean, I'm not going to sacrifice. I'm not going to censor for my mom. When,
don't worry, Ryan. Just remember that the. Actually, you should cut this part.
Read
just don't worry. If your mom won't be disappointed for you, I will.
Yeah.
She's only one of our 70 viewers.
I feed on the power of Soy being disappointed in me. It's what gives me strength.
R.I.P.
I'm not disappointed in you, Doug.
Does he remind you of your dad?
You're already disappointed enough.
Yeah, in myself. No, my dad isn't disappointed. He's the one who likes this podcast. Remember, he's the one guy who.
He's like the only
likes the show.
like devoted listener that we have.
Well, as far as we know, we haven't gotten.
Yeah, I guess
we haven't gotten any fan mail yet.
There's someone who doesn't leave comments. And...
Oh my god, you're actually gonna.
Okay. No, there's just 2 more.
Dude.
The 5th one was Beowulf, and at the end it said,
I actually want to
rewatch
coming
that. Soon to HD DVD. Which
Fuck yeah!
Hell
Those
yeah!
are
the red ones.
I
those
love
are the
2006.
red Blu-ray disc cases.
And I know it's 2007, but still, it's the same. It's the same.
It was filmed in 2006, probably.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. The last one was a Jack Black movie called Margot at the Wedding. It was a rom-com with Jack Black in it.
Never heard of that movie.
I've fucking never heard of that shit.
It looks like a terrible rom-com
that and like
with
Orange
Jack
County
Black
talks
in it.
about Jack Black movies.
I mean, I remember Orange County, though.
It was about
I've
some
heard of that.
white, some nice white chick, and she's like on an island or something, and like Jack Black's there, and they're dating, and all her girlfriends are like, "Are you seriously like? Are you gonna go with that guy? He's like a slob. He's terrible because he's Jack Black and he's fat and he's funny joke man."
So what? It's like reverse Saving Silverman.
I truly love him.
What's Saving Silverman?
No,
Does that actually have
no, Shallow Hell.
Silverman?
It's reverse Shallow Hell. I mean.
Oh, okay.
So it's shallow, but the dude is fat, which is meaningless because women have been having to deal with that shit pretty much since the dawn of time. So it's like kind of pointless.
Did you guys know this movie was directed by Sean Penn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because then Adam got fat as shit and had a beer belly, and I had to just take
That was
it.
pretty much it. That was pretty much all of what happened in the Book of Genesis. And then someone got murdered, maybe, and then there was like a whole lot of water, and that's about it.
Next week, Book of Genesis.
Next week we're reviewing books now.
I'm just
specifically
recycling
only Bible passages.
Yeah, I'm just recycling.
There's some real A-class books of the Bible, all right? Judges 1 and 2.
It's true.
At the top
Especially
of my
the
list.
Old Testament is metal as shit.
I like the Old Testament.
Of the Old Testament.
Yeah, I think we can all agree the Old Testament's better.
Just like have power metal playing in the background.
It's in some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse.
All right, so I'm stalling because I don't have a lot to say about this movie other than I hate
don't
it.
either.
Really?
So
because usually we did
Good.
we did a play-by-play, so this should be shorter somewhat.
Well,
I don't know.
why do you guys hate this movie? Because I'm interested to hear this.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew because the movie, it's not like other movies that I know you guys like, because other movies that you guys like have like legitimately like deep writing and like complex storytelling and amazing acting, and this is more like an average movie telling a story that I really like. I connected to me because I live in Alaska, so I kind of am connected to it. So I'm super biased, is what I'm saying. So I'm wondering what your criticisms are.
Before you continue, something interesting that I read was that a lot of people from Alaska really hated the romanticization of that story that was from the book. And
yeah, boomers from Alaska don't like that, like, because they think it's going to influence like kids like his age to go out and do that.
Yeah.
But if you,
I mean, yeah, that was one example. I wouldn't say it was all of them, but yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there are people who have died trying to get to that trail because it is it's actually
like
very hard.
As if the original guy wasn't enough of an idiot, you now have to have copycats who can't even make it to the bus in the first place. Fucking
people that know probably have even less and didn't learn the lesson.
We should probably mention what the story of this is before we talk about our opinions.
Speed Racer is a privileged kid, and he's like, I don't like all this materialism and all this. My life is on a straight line. And
he gets into his Gundam and drives into space.
Yeah. So then he's like, I'm gonna
and then he and the other rabbits from the Warren have to find the last unicorn, and then they have to get into a bubble. And let's just
not. The bubble boy.
and they go to a Russian
kind of bubble
complex.
Boy. He had a privileged life, but he wanted to leave.
I like Bubble Boy better than this movie.
I do.
That's
ridiculous.
crazy.
It's a fun movie for me. But so then Speed Racer's like, he's like, I'm gonna go, and then the movie's
stop talking.
Cut up. The movie's cut up, and it's non-linear, but it goes back and forth between.
Please.
I'm trying to tell the story. What do you want me to do? I thought we were doing a summary.
Well, maybe I should do the summary.
Fine, you do the summary.
Okay. Christopher McCandless, dumb white boy, he just graduated college and he's got a lot of money, and then his parents are like, are you going to make something of your life? And then he said bye, and he burned all his cash and all his identity and stuff, and then he drove around until he found a flash flood area, and he's like, this is a good place to sleep, and then he like almost died in a flash flood, and then he just walked around until he found Alaska. And the movie is very nonlinear. It starts with his letter to someone that he used to know, like, hey, I'm in Alaska now, and I'm gonna go do this thing. And then he just walks off into the Alaskan tundra. And then it cuts back and forth between like his early life and like shit he did between getting to Alaska and his early crappy life.
Crappy, huh?
Well, yeah, sure.
Being
that's,
born
I guess what,
into
that's what
a
we
rich
call
family as a trust fund baby is apparently qualifies as crappy.
Crappy emotional support.
Because they wanted to buy him a car.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, my car runs fine, Mom. I don't want things. I don't like material possession.
And throughout his adventures, he meets hippie Catherine Keeter, blue-collar farmer Vince Vaughn, an old man who wanted to adopt him.
Yep.
He almost had sex with underage Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, underage. Okay, Kristen Stewart.
I
her
guess
first appearance before Twilight.
And she was actually underage when they filmed this too. And I didn't even realize that. I was like
16 rather.
16, yeah.
I don't. Maybe I'm like, dude, I'm gonna accidentally end up on the sex offender registry because during that scene I was like, why aren't you gonna smash, dude? And he's like, how old are you? And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't realize she's not. Fuck, god damn it.
Didn't even
like,
ask.
I would have already busted inside, and I'm going to jail.
During film, she was like that age
already.
I watched this movie when I was a kid, and I literally thought that they do it. Like, I had a whole, like, a sex scene in my head. I'm like, what? Did they not actually do it? Did I remember the scene wrong the entire time?
Did you forget that he asked?
No, I thought they were both into it. Well, first off, I didn't know that I forgot that she was 17 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought she was like 18 or whatever.
Come on, Mari. You know Alexander Supertramp would never have sex with an underage.
Oh my god.
Don't give him the respect of saying his dumb, stupid, fake name. I disagree that we should even do that.
By the way, I had a bunch of notes, and I wanted to start with the start of the movie where his parents are crying because his mom had like a dream about him in the middle of the night.
And shit, by the way. I interpreted it as like,
hey, what this guy's about to do is dumb, and his parents are like sad and hate him now. Don't do this, is how I interpreted that scene to be.
Well, yeah, but that would mean more if they didn't spend the entire fucking runtime romanticizing it.
Yeah,
like that would probably be a little more substantial. If
maybe if they didn't spend like 5 minutes on a scene where he carves out a poem into a piece of wood, then maybe there could have been a bit of nuance to the story. I see what you're saying.
I mean, I guess there's nuance, but it's something that is so fundamentally insanely stupid to me that I have a hard time, like... And it's like, only because he's rich does he even think this way. Like, it's like, only because you're rich and comfortable do you think of it in that individualistic, self-obsessed...
That's why I really like this film, is because of that reason. It's a perfect, it's because he's fucking retarded. That's why I love this movie.
Oh, okay, well that changes everything.
Well, yeah, it's a classic tragic story. Like it's very much romanticism. It's very much romanticism versus naturalism or whatever that was called.
Yeah, I used to defend Christopher McCandless, the main character in this. I used to defend him a lot because I wanted to do that. I wanted to like go out and live on my own. But now I know that's stupid and I can't do that. But now I can sort of appreciate the story and why he was stupid for doing that. Because not only did he probably didn't know he was gonna die, but it was like pretty probable, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But he just left so many people behind. When I watched it with my ex-girlfriend, she and I were crying for different reasons. Because I always cry at the end of this movie because I'm a dumb baby. And I was like, "Why are you crying?" And she was like, "Cause it's bad that he left so many people behind.
Yeah, they
like all his friends and his family and that old man that wanted to adopt him. And
fuck him. Fuck the
no letter back to anyone.
Fuck the girl I got emotionally attached to. Fuck the two hippies that then the hippie lady who imagined me as her son.
Right.
Fuck all my buddies that I met when I was working in the grain fields in South Dakota rather. That's part of the reason why I really like to not like Chris as a character, because he is so it's this irony about his character in that he very much embraces the ideals of Thoreau and Tolstoy, because he's constantly quoting them, but he doesn't understand why he's quoting them, and that's why he views nature with this very romantic perspective, which is the exact opposite of what David Thoreau and Jack London were actually writing about, which is how dangerous and how severe it is.
Which is funny when
the only one of us who's actually read Walden is going to have the best opinion.
I actually have not read Walden. I know what it's about. I just haven't read it. I've read plenty of other survival fiction like Hatchet and.
Do you think that is on purpose, that the irony is there, or do you think it's just?
I really feel like the guy.
Well, I mean, it's a true story.
The Sean Penn.
I feel like whoever made this movie, maybe not even the director, but the people who worked on it saw something romantic or virtuous about.
I'm curious what the reputation was before the movie. I'm assuming the reputation was already there, and the movie just emphasized it.
Here's where I think
it existed for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I think you guys are
calling
wrong.
him an idiot and stuff.
Sorry, here's where I think you guys are wrong on that because of the moose scene. I think the moose scene perfectly exemplifies how they do know how shitty nature can be, because he basically, if you didn't watch the movie and you're some sort of idiot who's just listening to a podcast not knowing anything about the movie,
podcast.
That's a little insulting, but go on.
He kills this moose, and there's a lot of steps to skinning a moose, and it's a lot of meat, so you have to keep it fresh, and as soon as a fly gets on it, it's bad. So he's trying his damnedest to keep this moose fresh and good.
Exactly.
And he fucks up, and then he gets super angry. And there's a scene I actually really like where he's trying to keep the moose good and smoked, and he's reenacting a fight between his mom and his dad.
Yeah, he's
because he's so frustrated.
Because he goes back to that every time he gets pissed.
Yeah,
that always recalls to that, and that goes to my point of. Him being a tragic character, because that's the start of his downfall, because that's when he realizes, or when he starts to realize, that this natural world is the real deal, and it's more dangerous than it ever was when he was in the regular states. I mean, even that, I don't know if he was quoting something or it was something that he made up, but when he watches the animals eat the carcass of the moose, that's part of his realization that I kind of fucked up, and then he tries to leave, but he can't.
Yeah,
and apparently in real life the real life Chris McCandless, they thought that the reason why, or at least one of the reasons why he didn't leave, was because he possibly attempted to swim across, but because of a dislocated shoulder, he couldn't actually do it.
Well, even if he was a perfectly healthy lad with strong muscles, that river it was springtime when he was trying to cross it, and that river is that's
huge
the worst
and raging.
Time
to do it.
Yeah, and so that's impossible to cross. That's what got that Swedish couple killed who wanted to go and see the bus. They did it in springtime, and they got stuck in the river and they drowned in it.
Stuck in an eddy.
Yeah.
What a fitting and poetic end to someone who wants to join the McCandless fan club.
Ryan, didn't you say that there's other ways to get across that river too?
I mean, well, I meant when I was talking about it, it was probably I meant the weather changing. In the winter, it's way smaller because it's half of it's freaking ice, right? So it's way easier to cross. But I I mean, you can go there by helicopter.
I believe I read it. There was a railway tram with like a one of those push carts, like the lever carts that he could have taken across.
Stalker
among
style.
other things of
that was
like,
probably like a few miles out from where
and
he was. He was just kind of he just kind of saw that bus and he like immediately went to it. So I don't know if he was smart enough to like go out and find that, but yeah.
He might have also found it, but again, shoulder injury. So there's no way he's going to be able to operate one of those.
Actually, when did he get the shoulder injury? I don't recall that.
It didn't happen in the movie, as far as I know.
There's a lot of differences between the book and what happened in.
Oh my god, I hate the book
life.
so much.
I think I'd actually like the book a lot better because it feels like it would spend less time.
Okay, here's what I hate about the book,
though.
The book and the movie are pretty similar in how they tell their stories, but the problem with the book is that right dab in the middle of it, there's this like 2 or 3 chapter long part where nothing happens and it's just retelling old stories that have nothing to do with it.
Wow, you mean like the entire movie, or
no,
like
no,
filler of the movie?
As in, it doesn't even have to do with Christopher McCandless. It's just like random movies of people going out into the wild and like surviving.
I would love to hear a different story in the middle of this movie because first off, it's way too long. I mean, 2.5 hours.
It definitely.
Holy shit!
I definitely think they could have trimmed out, or at least better integrated, or maybe just not made them as frequent. The sequences where his sister is narrating and talking about their past life.
And she's not very good at it.
I think what they probably should have done was maybe have him, and I mean this is just a byproduct of the fact that we don't know what most of the journey was because he's dead, but they could have shown him interacting with other characters a lot more and then elaborating on the backstory then, but that presents a different problem and there's no clean way to do it, so just cut it all out.
Right.
Oh yeah.
There's a scene I really didn't like, and that's when Catherine Keeter and her hippie husband in the van, and then I just have my note here. It's quote unquote authentic hippies calling him Jesus, because they basically do that. We're like, are you the second coming, man? You gonna walk on water? like as if Supertramp is some sort of super.
I think they're being
super Jesus
facetious.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Look who you're talking to. Who are you talking about?" And it's him, and he's got the beard, and he's like, "You're right, huh? I do look like Jesus."
Are you really knocking an exchange like that? Like, is that
No, I'm not.
I am.
I mean, the hippies are the only characters that I can stand in this movie.
I liked 2 characters. Well, I don't know about the first one because I originally wrote the old man making that late night call is the best character.
That guy rules. Actually, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That guy rocks.
And then there was the lady in LA who was helping all the homeless people behind the glass.
Yeah, she's also great. You're right.
That's like
she's a minor character. That is the scene where like it really registers that this guy's a piece of shit. He's like, "Can I take up some space in your homeless shelter? Because I left my 2-story cozy cul-de-sac."
$25,000.
To be fair, he does leave like 2 minutes afterwards.
Well, I know, but it's like, I gotta escape the bad feeling. I gotta escape the bad feeling that I was born rich and the world is unfair. It feels gross. I gotta run away again. Oh no!
That's true. He's probably seeing all the homeless people and he's like, "Ew, I'm not like them."
Well, it's not even that. It's like he's about to realize how he's been oppressing the poor his entire life, and he's like, run away, hurry, quick, run away from the bad.
I don't think it was necessarily. I don't think it was necessarily about how he was indirectly oppressing the poor or anything like that. I think it was just more the ills of society as a whole. Like, there's poor people, or there's just people interacting in general.
I thought that scene was more. That whole bit of him in the city was more about him like being. Like, going to the city is so surreal, man. I wish I could just go into the forest and just hang out there instead of the city.
These all feel very valid.
The only reason he feels that way is because of his pathetic, like, Gen X liberal, like, anti-material, pseudo-Buddhism, like, capitalist Buddhism attitude, where he's just like, hey, man, let's just get away from all these things, man. We just gotta get rid of all this stuff, and it's, like, in the way of us and nature, and, like,
That's what I mean when I say like romantic naturalism, because he's going at this ideology like very, I don't know, it just feels very artificial, which I feel like really aids in this story, because that's part of the reason again why I really like this is because Chris is very much a tragic character, and to see him go through this movie and have this shitty ideology, whereas all the other characters throughout this entire film, much like in a tragic story, his fall is predicted even from the start.
Right.
And the fact that not only is there, the loss of himself, like that's not the only loss, it's also the emotional loss of how he's abandoned all of these people at the same time, because family is a very central theme to this film, whether it's overt or not, just in the fact that a lot of the people that he meets are kind of like these surrogate parent figures, like the hippies, the old man who wants to adopt him. Even Wayne, in a certain light, you could kind of paint him as a pseudo father figure.
Yeah,
so, and the fact that he abandons them, in addition to his parents, but he doesn't see that as any wronger. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah,
because that's the thing that bugs me is like I would totally justify everything that happens in this movie if he gets to one of those people that's willing to like take him in and be generous and etc. and it's just like, yeah, let's do this. If that was the end, I'd be like, all right, yeah, that makes sense because your parents were kind of shits and Harvard sucks, blah, 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 blah. And you went and did some cool stuff with Vince Vaughn out in the fields. Great. But the fact that he's like, he thinks that he's going to find something at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, he thinks that this dream that he wants at the end of the road is better than all these other compromises that he could have.
And I get that you're aware of that, Soy, and that's like part of the appeal for you. No, that's the point. And I get it. I get it, and I appreciate it in that framing. But it is so impossible for me to relate to this character at all. That like it's still like even characters that I think are like abhorrent, I can still relate to in some cases because I understand their motivations. But this character, it just feels like such an irreverent, like spontaneous, like stupidity. And it's just not fleshed out enough for me to actually like get on board with it.
And here's the thing: do we judge the fact that some people think of it as like a role model, like that they want that too? And
that was my problem when I was a kid. But do we judge this movie? Like, how do we judge this movie? Because the story is all sort of like there in real life. Or do we judge its like filmmaking sort of qualities? Because
I think trying to judge it very much.
There's not anything special about like the cinematography or anything like that.
I'm trying to judge it very much as the story of the film, because if you compare it to the story in real life, there's a lot of differences and there are a lot of little factors that change a lot of the details. Like the fact that in real life he didn't destroy his identification; he kept all that with him, and
I remember that,
and
because he was planning to come back,
like $300. Yeah, because he was planning on coming back. It was just kind of his. Really? Well, it was like his walkabout. Where he would spend a lot of time just out in the wilderness trying to like find himself. Very similar to Walden, but in the end, because of one fatal mistake, whether or not it was because of the toxic plants, whether or not it was because of the fact that he was eating lean game like squirrels and rabbits.
Because that's what happens when you don't eat, when you don't have enough fat, because you're only hunting lean game or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, so it's actually ambiguous if it was the plant thing?
No one really knows.
Yeah, that's cool. The movie goes with the plant as the main thing because it mobilizes you and like it ruins your digestive system so that you can't digest anything, so you can't even eat. That's what the
I guess technically, because I think everyone does argue that it is starvation in some way.
Yeah,
well, of course.
Well, it's starvation because that plant ruined his digestive system.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that it was we know of the specific plant toxin, which I believe was similar to ones that were used in the Jews in concentration camps.
I remember reading about that too.
Oh, okay.
I read about that. Like, they discovered that in like 2013.
The thing is that it only really affects you if you're already hungry. So if you're normal and you have like normal levels of body fat and like calorie intake, then you can digest it no problem. But if you're already on the verge of starvation, it's like the final kick off the cliff.
Oh yeah.
So Jews are normal, huh? Is that what you're saying?
So moving on from that,
real naturalists.
Do we want to talk about?
The Nazis were oppressing them with all the gold that they were taking and all the they were trying to be.
Ryan, cut this out. We're signaling to Nazis to have a field day with this podcast. Please cut it out.
Do we want to talk about the music?
The music?
I don't know you guys, but I did
the music by Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam.
Did he sing it? I know he worked on it. Did he sing it?
So I'm biased against this too because my mom listened to so much Pearl Jam that it was all I listened to for a while. So I really like the score of this movie too. And yes, he did make original songs for this movie.
It's
I think
okay.
one of them won an Academy Award, I think.
Best
Also,
original
one of them's
song,
called
yeah.
Society, and the chorus is just him saying Society.
Yeah. Well, this was before Kanye tweets and Joker and et cetera, so...
I think, yeah, I also think the soundtrack is serviceable. I think it certainly does a good job of helping establish the tone of the film.
Yeah, it's very good for the vibes of like Alaska and everywhere he goes.
If they threw in a heavy metal sound, a heavy metal song, it might not be the most appropriate, but
yeah,
who knows? Maybe Sean Penn has a vision that we can't possibly imagine.
Maybe Sean Penn listens to a lot of like anal cunts, and he
really,
really wished he could have gotten that in at the end scene where he's dying. He wanted some anal cunt.
He brought the guy back from the dead to write original music. Like, you're a dumbass and you deserve to die in the woods, and it's 3 seconds long, and he just goes while he's dying in the bus.
Hell yeah!
Someone sample that and make that a song.
I like anal cunt, by the way, but shit, I just want to kill myself. Now quicker. Yeah, it kind of bugs me because it's like, I'm glad that Eddie Vedder isn't going full post-grunge, yeah, but it's still kind of annoying and obnoxious, and it's really like, it's so, how do I even explain this, like Gen X melancholy, and it kind of drives me nuts. Just overall, I wish this film was less produced, because I feel like I'd be a lot closer to seeing and feeling Soy's point of view if it was like less Hollywood. And it had more like long takes, and it was more patient with the way it portrayed things, but was also shorter because it has so much unnecessary shit that like.
I agree. If there was like more like 10-minute scenes of him just silently in the forest,
and it looked better because the cinematography is like not amazing either.
And plus, Alaska is like fucking beautiful.
It should,
especially in those mountain areas.
They should have been able to get better shots, I think.
Did you like the shot where he was going down the river and you could see his dick?
That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, I guess that was alright.
I did not see that.
It was right after he saw
that?
the wolves eating the moose. He was like meditating or whatever, and he was completely naked floating down the river.
Dang.
And it was like he was in a Christ sort of shot, and like you could see his dick.
That goes to another. Sorry, I just want to say that goes into another theme of this movie, the fact that I think the movie does acknowledge the whole Christ-like analogy.
But
whether
plus
or not
he is like a Christian.
Yes, but I think it's more to the fact of like, yes, he is like this hobo wanderer who touches people's lives and then just leaves them forever, which I think could almost be if I had more time to think about this, it'd be more articulate, but in some way you could possibly compare it to the story of when Jesus was alive and he spent 3 years on earth as a wandering healer, touching people's lives and changing them and filling them with happiness and then disappearing and not coming back.
That's funny that you mentioned he walked for 3 years on earth because Mr. Supertramp here had a poem he wrote on like a big fucking piece of bark of scrap wood or whatever.
Which album was that on?
The Black Album. No.
Nice.
I never really like listened to the poem much. We're gonna have another bit where Soy reads the poem in a Hank Hill voice.
No, I don't really want to recycle that one.
We're not.
I think that's actually one of the worst clips of the show because it's kind of
it's kind of cringe. It's kind of.
I mean, it's not cringe, but it's really one dimensional.
It's not that funny as I thought it was. It was funny during recording, obviously.
It was funny just because I was still at a point where I was shocked at how good Soy's impressions were.
Yes,
that was the main thing.
Breakfast
in America. Sorry, I had to look up a Supertramp album to finish that joke that I started a minute ago.
Just have me change voices while I'm reading it.
No, I don't. No, I don't need you to read it. I was gonna read it myself.
Oh, dude,
don't.
Are we really gonna?
Dude, it's so important to the story. It's so important.
Well, no, is it long?
It's
an epic poem, i.e. Gilgamesh.
It's 5 stanzas.
Oh fuck! We'll be here for the next 3 hours.
2 years he walks the earth.
No, 2 years he walks the earth.
No phone, no pool, no pets, no cigarettes. Ultimate freedom, an extremist, an aesthetic voyager. An extremist, an aesthetic voyager whose home is the road.
That was a term I believe he used to describe himself, Chris McCandless, in real life.
Yeah, that sounds like a fucking vaporwave guy, like, deciding to play PS1 games. He's
Aesthetic
like,
Voyager.
Aesthetic Voyager.
Aesthetic Voyager is my custom class whenever I play Oblivion.
Yeah.
Escape from Atlanta. Thou shalt not return, cause, quote unquote, the West is the best. And now, after 2 rambling years, comes the final and greatest adventure, the climactic battle to kill the false being within, and victoriously conclude the spiritual pilgrimage. So 10 days and nights of freight trains, which we gotta talk about the train scene, and hitchhiking brings him to the great white north. No longer to be poisoned by civilization, he flees and walks alone upon the land to become lost in the wild.
Oh, okay. For a Jack London fan, I'm guessing he's never read To Build a Fire.
I'm not convinced he's read any of those fucking books. He probably bought the books and he read like a chapter or two.
He wanted to look smart in front of his...
Here's the thing. He read Call of the Wild... What was it? Call of the Wild and White Fang, which... Yeah. They don't really have to... He should have just read To Build a Fire, because that has to do with way more about surviving in the wild than having a wolf. Just finding a gold mine.
When the wolves show up, he just runs away like a bitch. He doesn't even do anything with them.
Well, that's
wasted.
Like a real good hunter would have taken the opportunity to just shoot one of the wolves, because that's way less meat. You would have been able to skin it, or even just shoot the eagle. Just fuck it. Because I mean, there's probably, I don't know if there is, but I think at one point there was a hunting ban on bald eagles. But who fucking cares? You're out in the middle of nowhere. No one's gonna care.
You didn't even want to kill
eat it.
that moose because it had a baby moose with it.
Yeah,
no, that was a caribou.
Jesus Christ!
That was a caribou.
Also, there is a scene in the very opening where he's like, where he gets dropped off from the truck, like the very early scene.
Which, by the way, Alaskan people are that
nice. Like, oh my god, he's gonna die! like you can watch this kind of thing. You'll see that scene and be like, all right, he's gonna die, I guess, because he's so unprepared.
Of course, he's gonna die. We already know this.
Everyone that helped him should be charged with assisted suicide.
Assisted suicide.
Everyone that like drove him out there, they should absolutely be punitive action should be taken against these like enablers. And people are like, well, I guess if that's what you want to do. Like, you wouldn't say that about a dude that has a fucking gun in their mouth, but that's essentially what he's doing.
Well, here's the thing. Probably 9 out of 10 people he asked were like, no, that's stupid. Jesus Christ, go find a home.
Yeah, the ones that were down for
it. Well,
I
I think in their minds it was probably no different than like driving someone up to a hiking trail or something like that, just out in the woods somewhere. Yeah.
I saw a Reddit comment where, take it with a grain of salt, but they're like, my mom's friend or something like that was drove him, hitchhiked them a little bit, and she only remembered that he was talking a bunch of nonsense.
He instantly is insane, and there's a weird thing where like he's insane when he's by himself, and then he's like chill when other people are with him, and I'm like, I bet it was somewhere in between. He was probably a little bit unhinged at all times.
Well,
My mom's cousin Bugs Stump.
I think, like, in the movie, I think that version of Chris is probably just containing those aspects whenever he deals with other people, just because he doesn't want to potentially lose their services, like having a car or having a bed.
He's going to use them and then move on. He's going to use them and get them emotionally attached and then just leave them.
Which makes him worse than Jesus,
I was going to make that point earlier, but I forgot.
Yeah,
he's
Jesus
totally just using these people.
If he really wanted to work on his own, he wouldn't stop for every couple and be like, yeah, I'll have a hot dog. Great. How's it? All right, see you later. Like, he's clearly taking advantage of civilization.
He wanted to spread joy to people. He wanted
again,
I don't know. He wanted to spread the message, man.
Again, dramatic irony.
Yeah.
Speaking of dramatic irony, his parents. Now I'm not 100% sure, so we might be fact checked on this, but I think his parents played as his real parents.
Shut up!
That's
There's
not
literally
true.
Zero chance.
At the
Okay.
That's not true.
That actor is fucking Thunderbolt Ross in the Marvel movies.
Okay, you're right. But they were on set. They did help, which is props to them because they helped a lot with that, and they had to watch their own actual fights, which must have been messed up.
Well, yeah, but they shouldn't have, because then it would be less biased towards the dumb kid and his stupid idiot.
I think my favorite fight they have is when Marcia Harden's character is like, "Are you gonna cancel Christmas? Who do you think you are, God?" That's right, I'm God.
I'm God. No more Christmas.
Because only
Christmas
God
sucks.
can cancel Christmas.
By unbirthing Jesus.
The Christmas
No!
he wasn't
It's like
even.
one of
Jesus
my
back up the
doges.
Virgin
Is
Mary.
this gonna be one of the bits
But
I have
it's
to
not
cut
even
out?
Christmas. It's the winter solstice. Okay. Thanks, Rome. You fucked up Christmas forever. We're supposed to have it in
Yeah,
July.
Rome.
I'm looking through my notes I took, which I haven't looked at since I watched the movie, and I have one that just says he colleged about Africa. There's college about just Africa?
He
Mark.
colleged about Africa.
There's probably African history.
You know, you
yeah.
probably didn't have to read it verbatim. You could have
No,
just dossied it up a little bit.
No. That's the fun of it.
Also,
is
yes,
that-
there are majors for African history and like
And
contemporary
he's
politics and such.
And to find himself, his solution is not to like go do some humanitarian work or some charity work.
Yeah,
or
no, it's
go to
not
a
to
homeless
go-
shelter.
It's not to do that. It's to
help the
seclude
poor
himself.
It's that exact kind of like individualistic thing, that the fact that he has to be rich to feel that way, even though he's supposedly trying to escape from being rich, etc.
And that's like the whole idea of romanticism when it was created in the early 1800s was entirely because of that. It's
Right.
because of the rapid industrialization of not just even America but also the world. People are starting to love the idea of like that little house in the country that you would retreat to in the summer
Right.
to get away from the drudgery of real life. And it was about embracing the beauty and emotion of nature. And then
But it's like I just don't feel like the movie is really arguing from that perspective. I mean, if you like it for that, that's great, because I agree with you on that point.
I think you can definitely interpret this film as being that way. I
Yeah.
think it's a case of an emergent perspective, maybe not one intended by the creator, but I think, I mean, you could say that about art
Yeah.
in general, so...
I mean, yeah, because I don't really feel like arguing with that take, because I think it's fine and good and it stems from agreement, but I just don't really I don't really see it that way.
Right.
So,
I will say
probably agree.
I will say I didn't like this movie the first time I watched it, although that was primarily because I was watching it at 3 a.m. and I had a paper due at 8, so...
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I watched
Yeah,
it
that
like...
sounds about right.
I just finished it like 20 minutes ago, so... Or however long
Nice.
ago we started recording.
Jesus,
Nice.
Is it your first time, Dunk?
Of course.
This is like my 7th time.
I only watch
watching
good
it.
movies on my own.
I've had it for a while. I've had the DVD for a while.
I've had my pirated copy for like 8 years. Ever since I had to download it for that class, it's been carried over on my hard drive backups.
That's awesome.
I still have it's just into.the.wild.2007.720p.br rip.
Oh, can we be the first podcast to officially endorse piracy as a moral good?
Piracy is good. You
d-
should do it.
I didn't download it from the internet. I downloaded it from my friend,
From your teacher.
Mr.
Yeah.
DVD
It doesn't
Store.
matter where you
Oh,
get
well,
it.
I'd still like
Piracy
to
is always
endorse
good.
piracy as a moral good.
I also endorse
We are
it.
the first
Never pay for a
piracy
movie we tell you to
endorsing
watch.
podcast, baby.
And that's why you need our sponsor, Gay VPN, to
To pirate.
To
Okay,
pirate.
cut that out.
Your
We're not
VPN.
giving them free press, dude. Cut that shit out. We're not
Yeah,
giving them a
okay,
free...
here I'll have a clean
better
cut
pay
of me
us
saying
first.
gay, so it says Gay VPN instead.
Yeah. Do that.
Okay. Gay
I mean,
or
yeah,
gay.
it should be
Just-
clean
why don't
already.
you just redo the bit and say gay VPN? Like, what?
Gay
Because
VPN.
he wants it to sound authentically edited, authentically
Yeah.
censored.
Yeah, actually, that
Gay.
will be kind of funny, because then it'll sound like, oh shit, we realized that they're not our sponsor after the fact, and then we had to cover it up. That'll be funny.
Exactly.
It's much
That'd
better.
be a
Exactly.
good bit. Okay, well I'll edit it and
But
post.
then cut out this part where we explain it, because that's not funny.
Yes, of course. Do you guys want to talk about the railroad scene where that fucking railroad man
Yeah,
comes
what a
and
cool
beats his shit
guy.
up?
Probably the only guy
Well,
who's
yeah,
like
'cause
less than the
he's like, you're gonna
protagonist. in the
ruin
whole
our
movie.
Because,
thingy.
yeah, I mean, like everyone else, he's just doing his job. It's just
Well,
his job is to be.
violently- and
I want
cruelly.
that job.
But yeah.
to beat up people who go on freight trains.
Yeah, that's what I did. It's a great
What?
job.
Yeah.
18
But like,
an hour.
You can remove him physically with force without like kicking the shit out of him. You can remove him
really
verbally
hard to,
without
though.
calling him a freeloader. It's
I think it might have been part of the whole thing where
I'm
like
sorry,
the
but
movie
it's just
does
really
want you
hard
to
to
feel
do that.
bad
You get
for
all
him.
caught up in the moment. It's just, and then
The
they
dog's
insult your
barking.
mother.
It really brings the worst.
The
out
dog
of you.
tears your balls.
So
when you
your
have a
attorney
sitter-
told you shouldn't talk about this on the podcast.
I'm sorry. I know. Ever since that Sidorak gem embedded itself in my forehead, I've just been having the thoughts of Juggernaut. All in my way must be crushed.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I have some choice quotes from the movies in my notes, and here's one. Careers are a 20th century invention, and I don't want any of it. Which is very fucking pretentious.
I mean, it's that kind of thing that it's so true that it's just mundane, and the fact that you think you're smart for saying it just makes you obnoxious as hell.
That you're explaining it to a not a boomer. What is he? Because it's the 90s. What's older than boomer?
Silent generation.
Silent generation.
Whiny, anti-whiny bitches.
Yeah, you're really gonna change his mind after this man who's had worse hardships than you. Yeah.
I know.
That's the beauty of it.
Doesn't
That's
even
the
have a
beauty of
career,
it.
I think.
Yeah,
He's like
yeah,
retired
it
as fuck.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
But
I
it's
guess
about the mindset.
Yeah.
Right.
He's not trying to convince him.
So I guess
lose
in a
his
way
job.
we're criticizing less the movie and more the people that watch this movie and go, hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about, brother.
Like me!
That's my
That's me right
shit.
there. That's me
Because,
arguing
like,
that.
We seem to share that opinion despite a relative difference of opinion on the actual film.
Oh no, people who do this are fucking retarded.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. I
People
did
who actually
wanna...
go out in the wild
If you
without.
do it, it's fine. But Jesus Christ, do your research and have a plan,
Yes.
and not just I'm gonna walk till I stop.
Well, I mean,
have-
my thing is have a better reason than just, like,
Yeah,
you're trying to, I don't know, combat the ennui of being a Harvard student by...
Well,
Yeah.
the thing is, also, don't go to Alaska.
Yeah,
If
for
you're,
sure.
if
Alaska
you're that,
sucks,
if you're
and
that
it's way too hard.
inexperienced, if you're that inexperienced, you should work your way up. Like 2 years going across like the continental U.S. I don't think is proper
Right.
training. Maybe go up
If
to
you're
Canada
starving, you can't
and work
hitchhike
your way
away
up.
to a homeless shelter in Alaska.
Live
It takes
with
a
the
while
Inuit
to get
for a
there.
while.
No,
I mean,
don't
if
you
you're
guys
gonna
get it? Humans, we were born in this land. You know, we were cavemen. We can do it again.
Yeah,
bro.
you're right. Actually, I agree with the Unabomber. Let's get rid of technology. Let's go back.
Hell yeah!
I'm gonna be
First
Unabomber part
podcast to
2.
endorse
The
Ted
Unabomber. Hell
Krasinski,
yeah.
baby.
Duncan, I endorse the Unabomber Krasinski, or whatever his name
Ted
was.
Kaczynski
I won't dox you on the
or
podcast,
something.
so your last name is now Krasinski.
Okay.
John
Yeah,
Krasinski.
I'm the son of
now
that
the
office
brother
guy
of Unabomber.
who was also in that propaganda they put on
The Quiet
Amazon
Place.
Prime.
which one?
Quiet
he was on
Place?
like 2. Well, he was
No,
on a
it was
Michael Bay
like-
movie that was
he was
also propaganda.
specifically in a like an espionage thriller where he plays an
Jack
American
Ryan.
spy in a country that like we're currently oppressing with our foreign policy. So it's like deliberately like it was a very specifically written
Oh yeah, the Jack Ryan thing.
script. It's awesome. It rules.
It rules.
Well, that's because it's John Krasinski that's oppressing them. He's
We
giving
Yeah, I
them
mean,
support
power.
Ted Krasinski.
John Krasinski
and
has
the
done
oppression.
sketchy. He was also in that fucking Benghazi movie, wasn't he? Where it's like
That's why I said the Michael Bay one. The other
boy.
Michael Bay movie.
He really is
like something
going all
hours or
in.
whatever.
He's trying to play both sides: liberals with The Office, conservatives with the Benghazi movie,
And
it's
indie
working.
filmmakers with The Quiet Place or whatever the filmmaker that was.
Like people who think they like indie films but haven't actually. They don't
Low
actually
budget.
understand.
Watching
Just saying Krasinski is a very Jewish last name.
Oh!
Do we cut that out too? Because
Welcome
we
to
cut
the
out the
first
first one.
anti-Semitic, pro-piracy, pro-Unabomber podcast.
The first pro-Holocaust podcast.
Well,
I'm
okay.
trying to-
The second
hold on,
mention's
hold
staying
on,
in. The
hold
first
on,
one has
hold
to
on.
stay in too.
Hold on. What I'm trying to do is provide an interesting editing challenge for Ryan.
No!
Figure out
Go
if this
ahead.
bit's funny enough
I
to keep
think
in.
it's I think
Figure
it's
out
I
if
think
the
it's
depth of
textured
the
enough
first
that I'm okay with leaving it in. So I'll leave
The
it up
first
to you,
one's
Ryan.
fine.
You pick.
Yeah.
Because like if it was just the first one, then the Nazis would have a field day with it. But we spent so much time on it that I feel like it's kind of
Yeah.
It's gotta stay
It's
in
okay.
there.
It's
Damn.
never a good idea to
It's
spend
fun.
too much time with Nazis.
It isn't. I agree.
They leave
isn't.
all these horrible marks
No,
on the carpet.
I
You're
would
the expert,
also
right?
know because like it used to be that if you wanted to talk to anyone who like had taste in anything, you would go on 4chan, and guess who's on 4chan? Nazis.
Nazis.
So
Damn it.
Well, not everywhere, I will say.
God.
Are we talking about a movie at some point?
I don't know.
What,
Let's talk about the Unabomber instead.
no!
Let's not.
So, like... I'm looking through my notes trying to see if there was
my notes are done, man.
Specific.
My notes are done. That's it.
I
had
have
Kristen
way
Stewart
too many
caps
notes.
there.
Great.
I like that one part where what was it, Swedish woman takes her shirt off.
Oh
and
yeah,
she's just hanging out.
the weird
that we see,
like
I think.
Swedes.
No, there's the nudist scene where they're at the
yeah.
hot springs.
You're right. I completely forgot.
And there's the
Oh my
scene
God,
where he's
spring,
in. Oh well, I was thinking of nude scenes, but you were saying tits. But I was thinking of the nude scene where he's in the river, which you apparently didn't see.
How come?
Does
how
he
come
ever?
Vince-
Do they ever assert their gender identity in the movie? Because maybe if the main protagonist is gender fluid, you could argue that those are still tits that you're seeing in that scene.
Like,
Are you
Now
saying
I'm
Christopher
gonna piss off the
McCandless is
gender
like
fluid
a
people too. Awesome, we're off to a
is
great
like
start.
is like the trans representation of 2007?
Yeah.
I don't
What?
know, so I don't really.
come
I
Vince
can't
Vaughn
really
got
make
I'm not
that
arrested
saying
call.
that. I'm
FBI?
not saying that. That's gonna get me canceled.
All the
why
people
did
have
Vince
been
Vaughn get
canceled.
arrested by the FBI? I think I
You
completely
don't remember
missed
that that satellite box scene?
No.
Oh yeah. He was stealing cable.
He was stealing cable.
The bastard.
He's the best. Actually, he rules. He's a great
Vince
character.
Vaughn was cool. Yeah.
Stealing
Yeah,
cable
Vince
is a
Vaughn.
moral good. First,
He
Like
was
when they were
talking
yelling
about
at the
that's
bar
the
and he
actual
was
way to-
just
that's
Yeah,
telling the guy
remember the
he was
scene where they're
making a dumb
talking about like
decision.
Roswell, and I was like, I wish this was a 9/11 bit.
Well, yeah,
instead.
because
This
that
would
was
be way better.
that was at the end of the scene where he's just like, all right, well, if you're gonna be tromping around, be sure to watch out what happened in Roswell, Nevada.
No, he was like, you shouldn't get all this stuff in your brain about going to Alaska. What you should be thinking about is this thing that happened in Roswell.
What happened in Roswell in the 1940s?
yeah.
Have you heard about this new virus? It's called the Gray Death.
I thought you were gonna do coronavirus bit, but I'm glad you went
Yeah,
for
that's
Dave
too
Sachs.
easy.
No,
It is too easy.
it is very
topical.
easy. No, but it's
good for
easy.
SEO.
It's easy.
Yeah. But
It's
Topical
lazy.
humor is easy. John Oliver
For
probably
some
spends
reason
like
I
5
wrote-
minutes writing a show.
I lost track of
I want
where I
John
am in
Oliver
my
to talk
notes,
about this.
and it's for somewhere here. It says treats football players like they're black, and he's in the KKK.
What?
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
What?
No, that's
When,
was
when
I-
did this happen?
That's great.
Oh, it was his dad in the beginning where he's in the restaurant. He's like, Are they gonna?
Oh,
yeah.
Good
Oh,
bit,
yeah,
right?
David
That's
Stern
Well,
bit, though.
I
Those
think-
guys were shits.
Well, I think that was more to draw the line that his parents, like, draw the line between him and his parents, because his parents are just like, how long are the riffraff going to stay here? Are they going
Oh,
to
yeah,
stay restrained in their...
It's like,
We need
bitch,
to
you're
talk
not
to
that,
us
you're
about
not
his
that
car.
bougie. If you're at a restaurant where these guys can come in and they're regular customers like you,
Yeah,
then
if
shut the
you're
fuck
gonna
up.
celebrate your nice, quiet like
Fuck
celebration at like the local fucking McDonald's, like don't
like
expect
Olive
me
Garden or
to-
something.
I resent the idea that it's snobbery to be eating in a restaurant and have a bunch of dipshits come in and it's go, yeah, fuck yeah! Dick Blasters just won the Super Bowl, and then just getting fucking smashed at the boat. Like,
I would watch the Super Bowl
like,
if they had a team called Dick
that's,
Blasters.
Like,
Welcome to the XFL.
that's stuffing your nose at fucking the riffraff just to not want people to yell about dumb gay sports while you're eating dinner. Like, Jesus Christ, I disagree.
I've met people like that, so that's where my perspective comes on that matter.
Yeah, I just don't like having to like. I hate people, but I can tolerate them as long as they're not talking too much. If you keep fucking bothering me, then I'm gonna be upset. But you know, to each their own. Live and let live.
I actually wrote a decent note here at the end, which is for the ending after he died. Ultimately, Alex is selfish because of all the people he met and left behind by going to Alaska without the guarantee that he'd survive. But he wanted to be free from his family and materialism and society, so that was his trade-off for a short life and total freedom.
Hell yeah, dude.
I mean,
So
even
basically, he was just terrible.
I mean, he did, again, going back to him being a tragic character, at the very end of his life, he does have that realization that it was all for naught.
At least in the
and
film. Like, obviously in real life. I
and
don't know what
he-
he was thinking, but...
He imagines himself reuniting with his parents, and his inner monologue speaks to that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's really
I
sweet.
guess
And
it's-
I like the death scene because it's it's like really weird with the camera shots and like the effects and shit.
I guess I'm just an asshole because to me a tragic character doesn't work if I find him just like so stupid to the point of not being able to relate at all. Like if that's the case, then it's just like
that's kind of the point, right? Is that
idiot.
he's tragic because he's so stupid.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think that there are kind of different levels of how tragic a character can be.
He had good intentions, I think, but he just didn't execute them properly.
Someone like Oedipus, I find, is much more relatable as a character because when he kills his dad...
Because you want to have sex with your mom more. Got him.
Are you gonna let me finish?
Why are you... If we were in a room together, I could tell how serious you'd be looking at me. Your gaze, your evil gaze.
It was just a limp punchline, and you might want to edit it out to make yourself look better.
No, I'm keeping all the bad stuff in.
Okay.
To show how terrible of an addition I am to the podcast, but now I'm editing it. I'm keeping it alive on Lifeline.
What were you saying, Soy?
Yeah,
sorry. Because he was ignorant to the fact that, when he killed, I forget the character's name, so I think it was King Philip, and then how he killed basically his dad, and then had sex with his mom, and then when he has that realization in the story, that moment of, I think it's pathos is the word, is much more relatable, I guess, in that sense, because he's not an asshole, and what he did wasn't necessarily...
He didn't do it on purpose.
Well, I mean, he didn't do it with the intentions of killing his dad and fucking his mom. He did it with the intentions of, here's this asshole king, and now I'm the king, so now I get to have the kids.
Yeah.
So it's... When you compare it to someone like Chris, I think Chris is much more deeper into being a tragic character in that he is much, much more flawed than someone like Oedipus.
To the point that that by the time the movie starts, we're beyond the point of showing me the situations that led to him being this way in a way that would make me empathize. Like, it's past that already. He's already has his mind in a place where I just can't connect to it with my own supplies.
Right.
So that's the situation.
I understand.
Maybe if I doubt that showing more would have helped, but
probably not.
Mari, Dunk's been talking a lot about why he hates it. What do you dislike about it so much?
I mean, no, I didn't say anything because it's like the same things mostly. I'm never articulate enough to say anything, so I just agree with the points that I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I've been thinking all this time.
This should really just be Dunk and Soy, but we're here to edit.
You're the lackeys.
Yeah, Mari used to be the one that was just here to edit, and now I'm the one that's just here to edit.
I really
and Mari's
like
just kind of
hearing both of your inputs, even though I talk over you, but that's just what I do to everyone.
Well, I did choose the movie, so I guess my input is pretty important.
I like hearing you talk.
Really?
That took a lot of strength for him to admit that.
Yeah, what the hell?
It took a lot of willpower.
Because I feel like I'm really bad at articulating my points. I thought it was going to be terrible on the podcast, but good. Well, I think we should sort of finish it and talk about the ending. Because the ending is basically he just starves and dies, and he looks back on the people. And he, for some reason, he sees a bear at the end.
I think that...
that might be real, but that might be a dream thing.
I don't think it's real. I think what it's supposed to represent is his impending doom.
I see.
If I was in that situation, I'd probably be trying to piss that bear off and have him kill me fast.
Oh no! So gross that the bear doesn't even want to eat him because
I've
the
been
bear
in
will gain
multiple
nothing.
situations with big animals, and it's usually best to, if you're that close, just stay fucking still. And if it's a bear, you'd want to try to make yourself as big as possible.
Yes.
So you fucking T-pose and you walk back very slowly is how you do it.
T-pose
That's seriously how you do it.
Open with your jacket
you try to make
open.
yourself as wide as big as possible.
But wouldn't getting mauled by a bear be a preferable death to starvation? To paralyzed starvation?
Man, at that point,
probably be a lot more
Supertramp was so
painful, way
skinny,
quicker.
if the bear sniffed at him, he would have broken all the bones at once.
he just crumbles to dust when the bear touches him.
I do wonder if he lost a lot of weight for that, or if that's CG or some shit.
I don't know.
That's some
maybe.
Christian Bale, the machinist level of.
There's no way.
I don't know much
guy's
about
a method
Emil
actor.
Hirsch. Was he in anything else?
Yeah.
He's not a great actor.
The Girl
so he can't
Next
be...
Door?
Yeah.
I've seen that one a lot. That's a fun movie.
It's in your
Speed Racer.
It's a fun movie that you have on the same shelf as Bubble Boy.
Oh God, Speed Racer.
Disaster movie.
I don't have a Bubble Boy DVD. I should get one. Yeah, you thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, we need like special edition DVDs. We need
I
to
need,
sell
like,
like special
Criterion
edition
Bubble
CDs
Boy.
of all our podcasts.
Since
My
it's no
Criterion
longer my
Into
least
the Wild.
favorite movie.
He was
that
in
we've
Once
done for
Upon a
the
Time
pod.
in Hollywood.
What?
What?
Let's see what his
Emil
role
Hirsch? He was in that military movie recently with Mark Wahlberg.
Saving
Not
was.
Private
Could
Ryan.
describe any movie. The military movie with Mark Wahlberg.
Lone Survivor.
In my absence, I replayed that part of Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's pretty good.
He was in Lords of Dogtown. That's right. I like
The
that
best movie.
Yeah.
He was Jay Sabring. I didn't watch the movie, so I don't know who that is. But
I don't recognize that.
okay. Anyway, yeah. So he just sits in his. We didn't talk about the bus at all. I think the bus is pretty cool, actually.
A bus is a
what
pretty
way?
nice place to live, I think.
Abandoned
in general.
anything is cool. That's just how it is.
Yeah,
It
I
would be
want to know
funny.
like what happened before in that bus.
It would be pretty
How
funny
the
if that bus
how
just
the, how the
wasn't
bus
there.
got out there.
Yeah,
And he like
that
had
would
to
be-
make a tent or make like a house or something. Like he would have just died like 5 weeks earlier if the bus.
Oh yeah,
wasn't out there.
probably.
Man.
Well, because
Uh,
I think symbolically what this could represent is the fact that this journey was not it. The story of Chris is not one that is the one that has been repeated in the past because someone
Right.
else was here first. Because there's a bed with a
Yeah.
frame and a mattress and a stove, and it's again more than likely unintentional because this just happened in real life. So I doubt this had intentions in the
that
first
bus,
place. But
I don't know if it's still
remember
there.
that.
I've had a lot of conflicting stories about where that bus is. Some people have told me they moved it out or they destroyed it. Some people have told me it's the replica that's at the 49th State Brewery in Healy. I'm not sure if it's still there or not, but I do want to go there if it is in the most proper conditions, obviously. But I would want to go there. My math teacher in middle school said he went there and watched the movie on his iPad, which was funny to me.
I watched it right next to his dead body.
He watched it in the bed where he fucking died.
That's
I don't-
awesome.
I don't like that this story like got a movie and a book and all this, and he's famous because he's a guy that wanted to be all survival
wanna be
man,
famous.
and then he
Yeah.
died. Like, how is
Yeah.
dying making you more popular?
It
Well,
should
it's
not
not-
have
unless that's the
platformed
goal.
him.
No, it's
of-
well, it's not the dying.
It's the wanderlust.
It wasn't the dying. It was the fact that he chronicled his journey so specifically
Yeah.
until the end when it got, when
Yeah.
it got less articulate because he was fucking dying of starvation.
I feel like
Yeah,
if
I
that
remember-
happens, then you should be like, why am I still reading this if he
Itchy
died?
tasty.
Like
No,
there's
saw
nothing...
it. So I've seen like the. I haven't seen it in real life, of course, but his little notebook where he like wrote down. He basically wrote down like every day numbered, and he wrote down like the big event of that day. And like at like day 103, he got sick with the berry, and then the next like 5 days, it's just blank, and then he died. But I remember one of the funniest thing. Well, it's not super funny, but like out of context, it was to me. Where he wrote down about the moose, and he just said the moose, one of the greatest tragedies of my life.
Fucking
Which
idiot.
does show how much of a spoiled rich kid he is. But I like to think that it's just like a moose really ruined his day for some other reason other
Called
than
him
he
a
killed
dumbass from like 5 feet away. Like, you're dumb, and he just walked.
one
away.
of the
He didn't
greatest tragedies
imagine
of
it
my
all.
life.
You said he wrote down up to 100 something days. Wasn't he out for a
he was
couple
out there
years?
for a while
well,
because he
was out
got
there
there
for
in
a
the
few hundred
winter
days
time.
in Alaska, I think.
Okay,
He got
so
there in
the
the
Alaskan
winter
trip.
time.
Okay.
And he came back out in spring. I don't remember exactly when, but it must have been. He must have gotten there in like September or October or something when it was cold enough that he could cross, and then he was gonna leave in like March or May or whatever.
Yeah.
We should make Celluloid Goblin merch, and then you should trek to the van, and you should put it there with links to our
just
links
leave
to
it
this
there.
episode.
Not even like
yeah.
We
not
don't
even just
sell
have
them.
a
We just
t-shirt
have
and
a
wear
whole
it
box
there.
made and put them out there. Whoever gets them goes
and
for
it's
we
just
kill
like
like
please leave your
20
credit card
people. That would be
information in the
awesome.
box.
I'm
I
very.
should film a vlog there, and then I should come across a
Should we do
body and
like
get
a
more
Nathan for you
subscribers.
bit where it's like if you want to sell your shirts, go to the places in your movies.
You have to make a tragic story about
So we
a
have to
man
start
that
at
was
the
having
at that
wanderlust.
bus, and we just sell our shirts. Like, hey, we talked about this movie.
The shirts
Have we
say
ever?
the pro Unabomber, pro piracy.
Yes,
We
just
go
like
to
efforts
the-
of them on our
We
shirt.
go to the Bubble from Bubble Boy, and we blast Blink 182, and we sell our shirts there.
That's great.
Is the
yeah,
Bubble
like
Boy
a
episode the only one you've ever watched?
Yes.
I
reference
know.
it.
I just know you guys hate Bubble Boy. I watched like 15 minutes of it, and I watched like 15
Okay.
minutes of The Last Unicorn.
I'm sure glad we hired someone
know.
who hasn't even watched more than half an hour of the combined.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been
Combined
flying
series.
by for me. This has been good.
This is great.
I'm
There's just
bothered
less,
to watch
less
Watership Down.
mentions of the Unabomber and Nazis and pedophilia.
But
But that might change because we are rebooted, baby.
Yeah,
Revamped.
we're rebooted. Season 2.
Revitalized. We've
Is it
drank the
rebooted?
blood of
It's
children,
the
and now we're
same-
younger
okay.
by a couple years.
By the way, if we ever sell merch, I'm leaving.
Really? That's the line you're gonna draw? Okay. That makes me think you just want to leave anyway, and you're looking for the first excuse,
Oh no!
And then
which
the
I believe
ending,
because we're
which-
awful. Like this is terrible.
best.
What we're doing.
And then there's the ending, which I've always liked ever since I first saw it, which is where it was the real picture that the actual Christopher McCandless took at the bus, and then
Yeah.
like the it reenacted with Emil Hirsch. I actually really like that a little bit.
It's the simple
It is good how, well, not good, but I think it's
And
funny how
they
similar
look,
they
do look really fucking similar. They did a good job with the casting on it.
Also, Dunk, that's not the line, it's just a line.
I see. Many lines in many directions.
If we succumb to capitalism, then that's pretty much it.
I mean, I was thinking we should just sell out. To be honest, I was thinking like, I
Yeah,
wanna
we
make some
need
money.
more
I
sponsors
could
like
use some
Raid
Blue
Shadow
Chew
Legends.
Rays.
I wanted.
The
Yeah,
No, you can't say Raid Shadow Legends. Gay.
yeah, but I'm just
gay,
giving up. So
yeah, gay
Legends.
I'm
Shadow.
abandoning my principles. I'm a
Mans.
whore now. So
It's a matter of
And you were
course.
so... What happened over the course of a week when I was gone? Now already you're thinking
Now
about
he's
selling
all
out.
actually,
Dunk.
I've had a bit of an arc, to be honest, but that's not.
Yeah,
that's
he's
not
been
neither
watching
the
a lot of
time nor
Kubrick
place.
recently.
That's
been
not
watching-
has nothing to do with it, but okay.
He was
It's
looking at
okay,
a lot of
Dunk.
porn while
I
he was
love you.
watching
We love you,
2001: Space
buddy.
Odyssey.
I see. That must be very interesting. Does
You are
that-
the best at sandbagging bets. I'm happy you're here to keep us in check.
There's nothing to sandbag. There was nothing there to begin with. That was
Yeah,
even.
it can't be a sandbag if there's nothing to... Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I'm
Soy-
glad I'm
Soy
such a
is
transition
good
to
at
the podcast
sandbagging,
that I can't
but-
even have anything to
But to
sandbag.
properly give him credit, you need to only point it out when he actually has to sandbag it, and it isn't self-destruct on impact. So you need to work
Okay,
on
so what's the official Celluloid Goblins Metacritic rating? Did he go into the wild? Yes.
Thumbs
Well, I
down
think-
or
I-
whatever. Don't watch
Yeah,
it.
we're
10 out of
definitely.
10.
It's
He went
definitely
into
going to
the
be
wild.
somewhere in the middle because I like this movie a lot more than the rest of y'all.
that. Actually, sitting down and watching it, 1 out of 10, appreciating it from Soy's perspective and framing, which I do think is good and makes sense, probably like a 7 or an 8.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I also give it a 7 because I'm pretty aware of how like shitty the movie is. But yeah,
It's one of those guilty
liked it.
pleasures for you.
I don't
Someone
think it's a
should make a
guilty
satire
pleasure. I
movie
legitimately like
from this
it. Me and my
genre.
whole family like it.
Of Wanderlust, guys, genre.
But it reminds me of like middle school and stuff.
dude, I really hate
said-
survival stories. Like even
said
when
a
they have a
satire.
good reason, I hate.
like a Dewey Cox story version.
I really like survival stories.
Should
Mostly
we?
just
Yeah.
because
Should
of
we
my-
all? The first live action, or the first live episode of Celluloid Goblins, we all go to the bus and record an episode
We'll
there.
record an episode there.
You guys can have fun doing that.
I don't want to go to Alaska.
And I'll be praying that you die during the trip.
I'll give you guys some nice wild. What was it? Sweet potato or something like that. Not sweet
Yeah,
potato.
Yeah,
not
that's
sweet
sweet
potato. It was
no, it was
sweet
wild
pea.
potato root.
Oh, yeah, he confused it for sweet pea. That's what it was. Because it had the vertical.
Yeah, because the veins were
Must be
horizontal
crazy.
instead of vertical or something.
It
Might
was
be
something
crazy.
like that.
You eat one and you could die. That's crazy.
That's crazy,
Wow, it's
bro.
crazy.
They
You
don't
can
want us to eat
die
'em.
from eating something? Wow.
Dude, I saw an animal eat
I can
grass.
hear
So how come
the
I
IQ
can't eat the
dribbling.
grass?
Seems powerful hard to eat grass with no teeth.
I bet if the Unabomber taught me survivalism, I would.
When are we gonna watch the Lighthouse on this?
Survivalism.
Now.
I guess if you pick it, I'm not gonna.
Naturalism.
Pick it. By the way, how are we gonna get back to the order? Are we gonna like?
Well, I think
Next
we just
go back.
You disturb the natural order.
I think we're appending Ryan at after me because I think at the end.
You were supposed to be.
Yeah, but we didn't upload any of those three.
That's true.
I guess we could just start at the beginning of the list again.
I have a choice. I don't know if either of you two have a choice, but I have an option if no one else wants to suggest something.
No, yeah, I do, but it was you last time, so it should be you again.
It should be me or shouldn't be me?
Because
it will be you.
So go ahead.
We recorded two that we didn't upload, and then we didn't record Smart House at all. So I guess it depends on your interpretation of.
Okay. That's what happens when I don't pick an animated movie.
That's
no one cares about your live action.
I liked it
broke
actually.
The chain.
We're gonna do a bonus where we talk about Smart House right now at the end of the episode because I liked it.
I didn't get to watch it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
I only
watched like a Brutal Moose video about it.
I do remember reviewers talking about it. I know what it's about.
Do you remember the connection that I said? That I said it had a Star Trek connection.
The guy with the glasses directed it. The guy with the
glasses.
Star Trek.
Yeah, Doug Walker directed it?
Yeah.
Doug Walker.
The guy with the glasses directed it. He really went downhill after he released that.
He's ruined that really general description now.
He went so far down after Smart House. It's kind of insane.
Disney Channel was like, "You're never going to work in this industry again." And then he went and...
Well, I'm gonna... That's why Doug Walker.
Yes, that's what he sounds like.
That was like Tasmanian Devil.
Credit card!
Because that's all he is.
Oni and G does it. Oni does it better.
Oni
The
and
fuck
G,
are we
it's-
gonna watch now? We're watching Smart.
That's Mickey Mouse.
That's how he sounds.
Does that mean Goofy's AVGN?
I'm disappointed.
What?
I could hear your hand on your
fucking
face.
shitload
I
of
could hear your hand going in front of your mouth and like rubbing your face.
We're like three shit kids, and Soy's our uncle.
I don't know what the hell happened in the intervening week where I was gone, but it must have been something.
Yeah.
Soy, what do we got? Is it back to
what are
Smart
we
House
watching
or
next? We need to end
surprise us?
Well, it was something that I mentioned in the podcast before, so Ryan probably won't know what it is.
Plague dogs, plague dogs, plague dogs, plague dogs.
Oh yeah.
It actually was, yes.
Yes!
Yay!
Fuck yeah.
Whoa.
Not just because I got it right, but also because I really want to watch the movie and feel sad.
I am interested in watching
and get fucked up in the head.
Next episode,
Yeah,
Plague
it's a sad
Dogs.
one.
Plague Dogs.
Plague dogs.